Hey, hi there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the stream. It is a beautiful, gorgeous June 25th up there. Hope you get outside today. It's actually really nice. Today, Streamer Lore comes back. Also, it's a little bit dark in here. 1 second. That's probably better. Yeah, there we go. Today, Streamer Lore comes back, and today we are looking at Hasan Piker. Also, the stream is starting a little bit early today, half hour early. I know I usually start at 4. We're going to be going for 90 minutes until around 5. And then my girlfriend will get back from work, and she only has an hour home today. She's working double, so I'm going to take an hour off the stream to hang out with her. Also, sorry I wasn't here yesterday. I did say I would stream 6 to 7 days a week, not 7 days a week. A bunch of things that went from streaming yesterday. I slept in, a surprise store came up, and then I had to do 2 things with my family. I got home, it was 2:30 p.m., and I hadn't even done anything yet, like that I do when I wake up. So I was just like, gonna take the day off and do all the shit that I normally do. That might happen time to time. Anyway, I'm really glad you're here. I'm really excited to get to know Hasan Piker with you. Make sure I get this working. Sorry, I should have done this before stream. There we go. Right. Yeah, I'm just looking at Hasan Piker's subreddit, trying to find more videos about him. So, I did run into a problem with Hasan Streamer Lore. Let's just make sure this looks good. I did run into a problem with Hasan Streamer Lore. Do I want to be in the top left? Yeah. Unlike Vosh and unlike Destiny, Hasan seems to have made his political philosophy much harder to get at. He's been much less open about it, despite the fact that he is the most popular leftist streamer on the internet. I know I made the mistake a couple of times of saying that Vosh was the most prominent left-wing streamer on the internet, but I would say that Vosh is the, what would I say? He's the most coherent leftist streamer on the internet, not necessarily the most popular. And Destiny is not a leftist. Not that we're not going to talk about which one is more coherent. So yeah, with Hasan, the pickings are much more slim. It's not like Hasan has a video called "This is how I want to build socialism," Politics 101, and Politics 102, and it's not like I can't remember the videos that I have queued up for Destiny, but we watched Destiny. We already know more about Destiny's political philosophy probably than we do about Vosh's. Maybe that was a little bit too far, but we'll get into Destiny's views next, and maybe we'll spend some time getting to know them here. I found, while I was looking for videos here, Hasan, I gotta stop doing that, a Hasan Destiny debate. I think it was about abortion, though, which I'm not that interested in talking about, especially right now, with how toxic everything is, and how worked up everyone is about Roe v. Wade. Anyway, I hope you're having a great day. Yeah, let's get into this. I figured the best place for us to start would be with interviews, and we're gonna get more of a mainstream political interview out of Rolling Stone here, although we could hop off this video whenever it gets boring. Then we are going to be taking a look at Hasan Piker on H3, the first appearance. I think this is the first appearance, 2020. I am a big fan of H3 Productions. Not a big fan of the H3 podcast. I'm not going to get into why I'm not a big fan of the H3 podcast. We're kind of just going to be here to focus on Hasan. I don't mind the H3 podcast. Like, there are a couple of episodes I listen to, but I was like a regular H3 Productions, and what was the name? Ethan and Hila subscriber. And yeah, I don't really watch the H3 podcast. Hasan explains capitalism and socialism. I think this is really the best I found on YouTube for a video Hasan made. Is this even Hasan? This is a Hasanabi Clips channel video, but that doesn't matter. This is the closest thing I've been able to find to him making a video about his personal political philosophy. Maybe we should start with this one, but I have a feeling that this is not really the place to start when we want to learn about his political views. And then we have this one. I think this is a second thought video. I think I have seen this before, maybe a long time ago. But Hasan is going to react to it and for 47 minutes, and we'll be here to learn a little bit more about it. And yeah, we have another one. The difference between socialism explained by Marxists. And Hasan's going to react to that as well. And that's what I got going for me. Oh, also, you get to see my watch later. Congratulations. What else do I want to say? Oh, yeah, one thing. Quick little disclaimer before we actually get into the video itself. I am kind of a Hasanabi watcher. Unlike the other 3 candidates that we're taking a look at on stream, like Hasan. Like, he has lots of political takes that I disagree with, but unlike Bosch and unlike Destiny, Hasan Piker is like a person that I would actually consider hanging out with. I think he seems like a pretty chill dude. And I've actually like gone to his stream before on Twitch and like watched it. Me and my girlfriend watched, like, my introduction to Hasan was watching 2 seasons of MasterChef with him and my girlfriend. And yeah, he, unlike Bosch and unlike Destiny, is really kind of just a dude who also talks about politics. That's something I like about him. So, disclaimer: I wouldn't say I'm a Hassan fan. I am a Hassan watcher. I'm not subscribed or anything on Twitch. I think I actually am subscribed to the Hasanabi YouTube channel though. But yeah, that's a little disclaimer. He's gonna get a much softer treatment than Bosch got, probably for that reason. But also, I think that Hassan is not as coherent as Bosch, but he is much less of an asshole. I think. At least that's been my impression over 2 seasons of MasterChef and I don't know, 20 hours, 30 hours of watching him. All right, yeah, let's get into it now and let's try and learn Hassan Piker's political philosophy. Thank you so much for tuning in, folks. I am overjoyed that you are here. Ooh. Okay.
I have
Also, that was a 16-minute opening. Sorry, that took way too long. We're gonna try and keep those under 5 minutes from now. Sorry about that.
no idea what we're gonna talk about. Like I just literally don't know.
Okay.
And these levels are good?
I saw that yesterday you won a cooking competition. Is that what's next?
No.
I thought I'd turn it down a
will
little
not
bit.
be-
How's that?
I will not be taking my talents to the cooking sector. I thought personally that because I watch hours and hours and hours of MasterChef. I thought that it was going to be super easy and that I was going to be able to bake something with ease, and I was wrong. So that's not in my future.
Oh, by the way, the reason I watched MasterChef with Hassan is because it is actually really difficult to stream MasterChef in Canada. It's not on Netflix, Amazon, Crave. Sometimes I want to watch MasterChef. What can I say?
But I did win. Yeah.
It was available on YouTube with Hassan. Thank you, Hassan, for your fair use.
Yesterday, yes.
Transformation of MasterChef.
baking competition.
Oh, you can't see the
Well,
chat.
Congrats on that. We were excited for you.
Thank you.
Want to talk to you a bit about like new media versus old media.
How about that?
Okay. Perfect.
And I was enjoying listening to your show the other day, and it occurred to me like, what do you think the sort of the legacy media outlets, CNN, New York Times, Washington Post, infinitely superior Rolling Stone, like what's one story that you think they have exactly backwards, and how would you like them to fix that?
That's a really good question, by the way. I was about to shit on this interview for being a softball nothing interview, and that was a really good opener.
That's a great question. With respect to how legacy media operates and how independent media operates, I would say, like, I can't speak on specific stories.
Oh, also, I wonder if I wonder if Hassan will have the same ability as Vosh to sound much more reasonable and not necessarily interesting, much less unhinged when he's interviewed.
But what I can say is that legacy media severely lacks the human component, like the personality component. It's too manufactured. It's too manicured, and I do think that plays a role in legacy media not being as appealing to the younger demographic. On top of that, though, if we're gonna talk about like individual stories, I think a coverage of Palestinian rights, Stephen Donziger, who was recently allowed to leave the house arrest that he was subjected to by civil court for successfully defeating Exxon. I think it was Exxon. I always miss it up. Exxon. Or Chevron, but that rarely got coverage in legacy media. It was Chevron. I said Exxon, but it was Chevron, and things that honestly routinely go against the established order, like things that criticize capital, labor rights. The labor union momentum that we're seeing all around the country. I feel like that doesn't get a lot of press coverage. It's changing right now, but I do believe that legacy media for the most part is like trailing behind.
Because you look at legacy media, what do you see and think like, okay, that piece of that I can take from that, I can build on that. Like, there's some virtue there. What do you see as some of the upsides of it?
What are the upsides of legacy media? Journalism,
What do you
like being
what
able
do
to
you think
do
that, like,
having
doing
the
well?
funds to be able to send people all around the world and actually doing like actually doing the news, actually doing journalism. Because like I'm an idiot and I'm very honest, but I am very limited in what I can do as far as like actually being able to like break news, right? I can't scoop anyone. I'm only one person. I'm a one person operation. I can do commentary, but I'm not actually, reporting on anything. I'm not ever reporting on anything new. And that is still something that is incredibly important. And that is what I would say legacy publishers do best.
When you've been doing your show, are there moments where you're like, okay, I'm giving this commentary. Where can I go deeper? Like, where can I find out more? Because you have this voice and you have this big audience, and I within the commentary, is there room to grow? Is there room for more interviews?
Certainly. I mean, there's plenty more that I can do. But again, I'm limited by being one person, and I'm also limited by because I'm limited by time constraints as well. You know what I mean? I'm like preparing for whatever kind of news coverage I'm going to do for the day, and there's only so many hours in the day for me to be able to do that, and then also live stream for 8 to 10 hours a day, which is what I do. So that there's definitely things that I could do more of, like some interviews and whatnot. But I mean, I try to set up like cool and unique and interesting interviews. But like I said, I don't have a booker or anything, so
Right.
it's
You feel that like
limitation.
it was a 17-minute video the other day. I like that. I thought that was sharp, and I like that format. It felt like you sort of drilled down, concentrated a bit.
Oh,
All right,
you're talking about the your whiteness does not exist, the video
yeah.
on my YouTube, I think. Or no, what was it? White people do not exist. Yeah, so that's what I used to do when I was at the Young Turks. Before I started on Twitch and before I went on my own, I created a show called The Breakdown on the Young Turks where I scripted out my commentary ahead of time. I was also really bad off the cuff on camera. Part of the reason why I actually joined Twitch to begin with was so that I could get better at speaking off the cuff and speaking my mind. I was a decent writer. So but I would script out everything and I would do a lot of research ahead of time and like script it basically ahead of time and then read it from a teleprompter. That was what was the white people do not exist video was not scripted. It was off the cuff. I was just responding to a chatter, but I think it came across similar to like my older videos.
When you started doing Twitch, was there a moment where you're like, okay, this could be the thing? Like, this is going to take me places?
Never to the degree of success that I I experienced on the platform. I think that was shocking for me and shocking for everyone else. If I'm being honest, I thought that it was going to be a place where I could, like, I was looking
Ah,
at a place where I
shit.
could
Fucking
have my own
goddamn it.
community. I
Fucking
didn't.
cocksucker. Oh, I pressed the mute button on my mic. Who fucking knows when I did that? How the fuck did I even do that? Oh, when I picked it up. Oh, God. Who knows how long it's been like this. Should I restart the recording? Nah, we're just gonna let it ride.
Want to be under the umbrella of the Young Turks. I wanted my own properties. I wanted, exercise my own creativity without any sort of constraints from a larger company. And I always wanted to be able to have like a little community on Twitch for myself with like-minded individuals. But like it blew up way past what I ever would have imagined.
I was thinking about this earlier. I was watching your stream and I was realizing, wow, like 8 hours a day. Do you ever get anxious about being wrong? Like, do you ever think like, oh shit, I'm
All the
gonna
time.
look back on that and be like, oh, that one hurt?
Yeah, no, all the time. And I
8 hours a day, by the way. Jeez Louise. I get tired. I get tired after just 3 hours of doing whatever I'm doing. I cannot imagine streaming 8 to 10 hours a day. That would suck. Like, it would not be enjoyable for me. Even though I'm someone who has like a pretty high tolerance for politics, and I can stay probably politically engaged much longer than the average person, but 8 hours? Goddamn. Mm-mm. And something that really surprises me, actually, is I thought that I would be way more nervous about being wrong than I am. I thought that I would like look at my old videos, and I actually watch a lot of my old videos already just to see what I say and make myself sound better. Listen to myself so I can practice. What really surprises me is that I am not like afraid of being embarrassed by the things that I said. I am much more afraid that I cannot express what I currently think better than what I'm watching, like what I'm watching that I said. I think that I will not be able to correct myself accurately. I am. I thought I would be really afraid of like saying, "Oh, I was wrong about that," and that I would be like too proud to say I was wrong about things. But dude, I am willing to. When I watch my shit back, I'm like, "You were fucking wrong about that. You were wrong about that. You should have said this differently. You should have said this differently." It really surprised me. I thought that I'm someone who comes off as pretty proud, and I'm kind of someone who seems pretty proud. So thought that I probably really get in the way of me correcting myself. But now I'm way more afraid of being wrong and not expressing my opinion accurately than I am of trying to remain intellectually consistent. So that's actually really good. I'm surprised that Hasan still worries about that, given that I got over it in like, I don't know, a couple weeks.
do get things wrong sometimes. I mean, it's normal.
Oh yeah, also everyone gets things wrong always. It's something that we should regularize and learn to accept, especially from one-man political commentary operations like Vosh, Destiny, Hasan, or me.
A lot of people get things wrong.
It's something that we should be cool with.
Only human. Especially when I'm covering news for
Levels are good now.
One of the most famous examples of this is when my analysis was correct, but my prediction was wrong when I thought that Russia would not be stupid enough to actually invade Ukraine. And I was pretty adamant about not listening to the State Department.
Okay. I actually went on a Hasan blackout before the invasion of Ukraine because his takes on that were so bad. So I can't really actually speak to what he said about it. He just the way he was saying that Russia was he was just hooked into an anti-NATO, anti-imperialist line of thinking that prevented him from looking at the conflict with fresh eyes. That's what I would say. But like I just said, I blacked out all of his Ukraine content because he was so aggressively wrong and so aggressively proud about predicting that Russia wouldn't invade Ukraine. And then after Russia invaded Ukraine, I think he... maybe I shouldn't say this. I was about to say, I think that he was more amenable to that security operation line at the start about it not being a war. But that's fine. People can make that mistake. I don't want to lay charges on stream about things that I don't have footage for. And I don't want to go back and look at Hasan's coverage. So let's just actually presume that he called the security operation a war right from the start. Although he did not predict, he predicted strongly that Russia would not invade Ukraine and was a huge asshole about it to anyone that thought he would, and was a dick about it to people thought he was wrong about it.
And on that issue, given all of the prior examples of the State Department straight up lying about things, And
I got totally got by that too, by the way. The State Department and the line, like State Department actually, they were the broken clock that was right twice a day about the Russian invasion. They were only off by like a week, and I mean, you're not supposed to predict invasions by weeks. And they were also right about it did turn out that China talked to Russia and said, please, please don't invade Ukraine until after the Olympics. It would make us look bad. And the State Department got that right too.
and that I mean, I wasn't alone in that assessment. The main reason why I did not want to believe the State Department personally was because I was listening to Ukrainian authorities on the matter, and they themselves also did not think that Russia was going to invade Ukraine until they did. And that was a big.
I have no idea what Ukrainian people Hasan is talking about.
That was a big deal for a lot of people.
If you want to think, okay, yeah, no, I have no idea what Ukrainian people Hasan is talking about. We can find it very easily. You can find it. I'm not going to do it on stream right now, but literally just type in on Google Adam something Hasan Piker call out, and you'll find a video about it or a tweet about it where a European German Adam something, I think Adam something is German, and I believe he like considers himself a political YouTuber. I've only watched I think maybe one or two Adam something videos. I think maybe he's an engineering YouTuber on top of being a political YouTuber. Anyway, Adam something literally was just like, I don't think that Hasan is paying attention to this conflict enough, and I don't think that he's listening to voices on it, European voices on it. And then Hasan made a video about the call out and totally shit on Adam something for saying he was bad faith. We can watch that video later on this actually.
On the internet,
see if I can find it.
Were very upset with the way I mistreated them, I guess, leading up to that moment. There was also a little bit more, anxiety and anger, considering that it's like you're taking a position where like America is not immediately the villain in the story, and it seems like you're making America to be the villain in the story. Any kind of anti-imperialist rhetoric is going to.
Oh, he deleted it, and Destiny has a 2-hour video about how Hasan deleted it. Yeah, looks like there was some beef about it. We're not going to watch a 2-hour Destiny coverage, but yeah, Hasan made a video, apparently that he deleted, reacting to that Adam something color. And I think Adam something was mostly right when he called it Hasan. It wasn't even like Hasan was wrong about this. It was more like Hasan has not been listening to people on this and has just been issuing an anti-imperialist line. Anyway, I paused this interview for way too long now, so we're going to keep going.
A lot of anger and frustration from even leftist and progressive audiences because American exceptionalism and American foreign policy is just the norm. It's the hegemonic attitude, and we're all living in the imperial.
Oh, someone's in the chat. I'm glad you're here, man. How's your day going?
Frustrated with that, but I immediately admitted, even before other sources were calling it an invasion, that I was wrong and that Russia was invading Ukraine. While that probably impacts.
Yeah, maybe I was wrong about the security operation thing. I'm perfectly willing to admit that.
Well, that probably affects like the way some people see my coverage, and I'm sure it has. Ultimately, I tell people all the time, like, sometimes I'm going to get stuff wrong, but I'm always going to be honest with you. I'm always going to tell you what my biases are. Personally, I'm not going to hide that, and I never have. And
Hasan is actually good about that, in my opinion. He's good about talking about like where his bias is, and way better than Vosh, and way better than Destiny. If a chatter says Hasan is wrong, I've seen it so many times. Hasan will like go, "Yep, good point, chatter," and he'll like either engage with him or develop the argument, or he way more than Vosh or Destiny will engage with the chat when they say that he's wrong. And also, Hasan does whip up the banhammer and like bring it down pretty hard on people he doesn't like, but that's usually the people he bans too quickly are usually people who shit on him and say something like they're just shitting on him instead of criticizing him. He is actually, in my opinion, pretty good at responding to criticism from chat.
if I'm wrong,
Definitely better than Vosh and Destiny.
I will correct myself.
When people come to your show for the first time, what do you hope that they get out of it? And what do you hope that, like, if they come back like a week,
This is a good
a
interview.
month later, like, how do you hope that changes their news consumption experience?
How do I hope like people's news consumption experiences changes when I get something wrong? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying when people come to your show for the first time, like, what do you hope that they get out of it? And then if they stay for a month, like, what do you hope you've helped them understand in a way that they might not have?
I believe I have a position that is not necessarily discussed openly in many circles, including even like college, and certainly not in media. But it is actually widely shared by people. They just have never communicated their desires from an ideological perspective. What I mean by that is that I am a leftist. I believe in socialism. I believe in a different way of organizing the economy. And I think that a lot of people, if you were to talk to a lot of people about the actual realities of like Marxism or a Marxist or a socialist organization of the economy, they are going to be way more susceptible to agreeing with you as long as you don't use those words, which I rarely ever do. I don't normally say like I'm a socialist. I rarely ever come out and say it. I rarely say anything beyond I'm a leftist. And the reason for that is because of centuries of Red Scare propaganda and the demonstrable failure of like prior socialist, or not socialist, but like at least countries that have tried to counter the capitalist hegemonic organization have lost. They've demonstrably failed, and because of that, it's impossible to come out and be like, I'm a socialist. You know what I mean?
You're socialist. There's like a big that's a broad swath of ideology that can fit in that. I mean, that's everything from like Denmark to Venezuela or the Soviet Union.
No, I don't think Denmark is socialist.
And I was wondering if Hasan was gonna pop off there.
I think Denmark is
Especially with the, I don't know, the Rolling Stone guy was kind of asking for it there a little bit, going Denmark and Venezuela are both socialism. What do you think about socialism, or what is your socialism?
or I think European.
Both of the Denmark and Venezuela are the countries that are two most likely to set him off for talking about socialism, I think.
Nordic social democracies are still capitalist. They will recognize that they're capitalist. They're social democracies. Even Venezuela itself, or all these other countries, have like attempted to transition into socialism. China claims that it's currently in a transitional state of socialism, but
I mean,
it's
the
just
opposite at the
What's up?
moment. Like if you look at the sweep of China, it is 50 years of telling you that they're transitioning towards socialism while simultaneously liberating the market and funneling money upward.
I wouldn't necessarily say that
I'd say it's too much of a basic
they're
analysis, yeah.
funneling money upwards, but
They're totally fucking funneling money upwards, dude. What?
I think that their infrastructure expenditure is pretty solid. I mean, they've been able to
Oh my god, Hasan!
urbanize pretty effectively. I think that is a socialization. There's an aspect of socialization similar to, or rather, not dissimilar to Nordic-style social democracies. But of course, they're not.
Money constant. Okay, this is kind of a hot take. I guess Hasan doesn't want to say this because he's a socialist and he believes in economic redistribution. But under any ideological system, money and capital will usually make its way to the top and distribute itself unfairly. I've never talked about this explicitly with the socialists, so maybe I shouldn't say this, but I would be interested to hear their opinion on this. It seems like the central planners and managers of the PRC and Soviet Union potentially might have greater control over the means of production than might have fuck, how would I fucking phrase this? We're just gonna drop it. I lost my train of thought.
Not like
That was fucking stupid.
there's still private ownership, and it's not like China is famous for its like worker organized worker councils or their worker organized like governance. It's not the case, but they do some cool stuff with billionaires every now and then when they make them not billionaires.
Yeah, I was.
Oh, perfect. Yep, China spends a solid amount of money on infrastructure and seizes the wealth of billionaires. Those are the two good things about China. Also, China does not concentrate its money at the top, apparently, according to Hasan.
Listen to your take on baby food poisoning and how China handled it when they had the melamine in the milk versus sort of the current approach.
Yeah, I think like America loves executing mentally ill black people in places like Texas and Florida. They love it. They literally get off on it. It must be a kink or something because there's no reason for it. Instead of that, maybe we should actually, if we're going to have capital punishment, why not use it on people in actual positions of power?
So this is a question I had about you because one thing I've noticed is like you lay it on the line, you don't mince words. But sometimes I think one thing that's hard for people who don't watch a lot of Twitch or have never been in like the World of Warcraft general chat is they struggle to gauge like what's a bit, what's literal, what's like like a figurative thing. Like if they were to come down and figure out that someone through negligence had killed infants via poison baby formula, capital punishment.
No, I'm anti-capital punishment. I'm joking. No, no, of course not. Obviously, I'm not a believer in capital punishment. When the subject matter comes up and I'm talking about it seriously.
Oh, wait, another nice thing about Hasan. I don't think that Hasan wants to kill capitalists. I don't think that he advocates for their murder or hunting them for sport or saying that under his system, his political enemies would be murdered. Which, you got to appreciate that from Hasan. I really appreciate socialists and leftists who don't advocate for the murder of their political opponents. And I'm pretty sure Hasan has never done that while I've been watching.
You'll know what my position is, and I am, of course, anti-capital punishment. I think it's gross. It's disgusting, and I do think that America is trailing behind the rest of the world. Surprise, surprise. I think our entire carceral system is just absolutely awful and dehumanizing. There's a reason why Norway considers it to be a human rights abuse to send prisoners to America.
That's true, by the way.
Because it is horribly dehumanizing. It's one of the worst and one of the most unchangeable aspects of American society. It's our draconian attitude that revolve around crime and punishment. Like we think that we have to.
I'm not sure how unchangeable it is. I would say that the trend has been strongly going one way for a long time, but also if you look how much the U.S. carceral system changed under the Reagan administration. You might, for the Reagan and Bush administrations, you might change your mind about the possibility of reforming it quickly and the impossibility of its potential reform. I have done some research into reforming the United States prison system, actually. I will talk about it a little bit right now because private prisons are so fucked up. It's such a fucked up idea that a private company is allowed to deprive you of your life and liberty when only the government is allowed to do that. It's not the government's job to hire a corporation to imprison you. It is the government's job to imprison you, and it is abdicating its responsibility when it hires a corporation to do so. Why? Because if a corporation fucks up someone's human rights when they're a prisoner, it's a huge fucking deal. Only the government should be able to be held accountable properly for fucking up people's human rights like that. I don't trust a corporation to imprison people. That is so fucked up. And so, yeah, I've done research into eliminating the private prison system in the United States, and it would cost trillions of dollars. It is really a tough thing to do. Like, so much money that I think it would be very difficult to justify, at least the way I read a super long core answer about what it would take to publicize, renationalize the prison system. And yeah, if you wanted to do it legally without seizing these corporations' assets, and even if you seize their assets, it's like bringing all the prisons up to a uniform standard. And what the heck do you do with all the prisoners while you're refurbishing these prisons? It's such a massive problem. We're just talking about carceral reform right now. We're not talking about any legislative reforms, and we're not talking about any policing reforms, and we're not talking about getting the people who've been wrongfully imprisoned out of jail. Right now, we're literally just talking about making it impossible for corporations to legally imprison people in the United States. And yeah, that's a multi-trillion-dollar problem that probably cannot be solved in 4 years or 8 years anymore, but definitely can be solved in my opinion, and definitely should be. Hopefully more like 12 or 15 years. But it's unacceptable, really. Private prisons, completely unacceptable. Should not ever have been allowed. Huge mistake. Honestly, one of the worst things the Reagan administration did, and they did some pretty fucked up shit.
We think that the state should execute people, and that our criminal justice system slants towards vengeance rather than actual justice.
Okay, if you were, gifted magic powers, what do you think, the first, 3 steps would be?
This is a good fucking interview.
Fixing that.
3 steps towards fixing our prison system?
Yeah, I mean...
That's...
Pardoning or releasing nonviolent drug offenders, universal body cameras, and qualified immunity.
It's an incredibly
Those are my 3 magic wands.
complicated structure, but I would try to tackle crime as it manifests, as in I would try to solve the underlying material inequalities that is, at least historically and in contemporary society, why violent crime occurs. And you can't do that without, you can't actually solve crime without solving the underlying material reasons for why violent crime manifests. So I would try to work on that, the inequality in underserved neighborhoods. I mean, beyond that,
My hits are better than
I
Hasan's.
don't know. I would try to, with my magic wand, change the attitude that Americans have, that where they believe that they have a vindictive approach. I would try to get them to believe in rehabilitation over incarceration.
So stepping out of the realm of magic wands, that's probably a dumb frame. Say it's like 2100
That's cool, by the way. That was not a dumb question.
and things in America have worked out well. Why do you
if we're
think
talking
that-
about tangible legislation, I can actually give you a way better answer on
Oh,
that.
fucking awesome.
One
Let's
of the
go.
things that we need to immediately do is see prisoners as human beings rather than the dehumanized attitude that we have for the incarcerated. Prisoners' rights is a big way to do that. Prisoners should be able to vote, for example. That's number one.
I'm not sure about that.
They're able to vote. They're now a constituency. They're now able to be heard. And I think that that would go a long way in basically starting the conversation around.
I said it earlier, but I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure that if you are currently incarcerated, you should not have the right to vote. However, that does not mean that you should not be legally or democratically represented in our system. Like, someone should probably represent you on your behalf, legislatively.
Solving some of the issues.
And no, I don't mean like all the prisoners should vote for like a single congressman. I mean that it's incumbent on us as citizens to protect the people in our society who cannot protect themselves, and even the people that we choose to imprison as a society are people that are entitled to a level of protection. If we restrict your right to self-determination, such that you cannot go outside when you want and associate, and if we restrict all your rights in all these other ways as a prisoner, it seems highly logical to me that we should be allowed to restrict your right to participate democratically in our society. But that doesn't mean that you are not entitled to things as a human being. Like, Hasan's coming from the right place here.
Immediately at hand in the way that prisoners the unjustifiable conditions that prisoners are subjected to in this country. So that's definitely one area that.
Sorry, I'm still thinking about it. Wouldn't it be so fucking funny if all the prisoners in the United States got a congressman and a senator? Like, what the fuck would they vote for? What would that be about? That'd be fucking awesome, man.
Focus on legislation-wise.
One thing that's hard for me, because when I started in politics, I was covering climate, and that was
Rolling Stone covers politics?
10 years ago, and at the time, people said, like, okay, this is it. This is our last chance. We got to do something about climate, and if we don't, we're in trouble. And, of course, we didn't do anything.
Good thing we solved it.
Yep. It's my favorite Onion headline ever is, whatever happened to climate change? And then, now we're back there. It's 12 years. 2020 was 12 years after, like, our last climate push. We're not going to do it again. It's pretty clear. Barring some miracle, like, the big climate package is dead.
Mm-hmm.
How do you stay hopeful? And if so, how?
Do I stay hopeful?
Oh, yeah, look at that. It's right at the damn center of their screen. Oh, after this giant banner ad for Hyundai politics. Right there. I thought Rolling Stone was a music magazine.
I wouldn't say I'm a very hopeful person.
The world is so different from the one that we're living in. And
Hello.
that's obviously like
Sputto Jack. How's your day going, man? Where are you tuning in from? You know much about Hasan? You read Rolling Stone magazine?
Do you ever see in your lifetime us getting close to there?
A solution to climate change?
More broadly, like a world that aligns more closely with the kind of things you talk about in your show I was wanting to see.
Hey, who knows? There are decades where nothing happens, and there are weeks where decades happen, right?
That's a Lennon quote, by the way, and it's so fucking good. We should hear it again. I would try and do it for you, but I don't think I've heard of that. I don't think I have it memorized.
Closely with the kind of things you talk about in your show I was wanting to see.
There are decades where nothing happens. There are weeks where decades happen. That's pretty much the quote. It's so good.
Hey, who knows? There are decades where nothing happens, and there are weeks where decades happen, right? I can't.
Such a good quote.
I
got a little goosebumps.
I can only contribute to that as best as I can by urging others to organize their workplaces and you're tuning in from the UK and you have mixed opinions on it, son. Well, I am super glad that you're here.
The Human Rights Act is abolished here. The Human Rights Act has been abolished in the United Kingdom. Are you sure?
Mobilize politically in every way they can, no matter how marginal or fractional it feels.
Sorry,
I think
folks.
that is something that I push for and that we should continue pushing for, because there's nothing else you can do. You can only try to work and build the foundations of a better tomorrow for future generations, because this kind of change, especially when you're going up against like centuries of solidified capitalist dogma, going to be really difficult. It's going to, in many instances, is going to feel like your change is not happening. It's not going to even feel like it's gradually happening. But you know, you just keep going. If you believe in justice, you just have to keep going, no matter what.
My mom was in.
It's going to be abolished and replaced. Yeah, I have not read the 1988 British Human Rights Act, but the British constitutional system is a kind of a silly one. I am a Canadian, so I am governed under the British constitutional system, but we have the Charter of Human Rights and Freedoms here, and I like the Charter of Human Rights and Freedoms more than I like the Human Rights Act. I'm not a huge fan of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, though. I'm a much bigger fan of the American Constitution and the Bill of Rights.
In Washington last week, 2 weeks ago.
What about you, man? Would you replace the the Human Rights Act in the United Kingdom with the American Bill of Rights?
Whenever the decision came down, and we happened to be walking by the Supreme Court, and she noticed people who were about her age. Sorry, Mom. When Roe passed, and she had this moment where she was like, "This 50 years, this 50-year struggle, and it looks like we're gonna turn back." But then she
Wow.
got talking with some of them, and she realized that on the other side, that also means that after 50 years, there's still people in it, and there's still people who haven't given up on that fight.
When was this interview? Yeah, it's funny. Almost a month ago now. Yeah, Roe got overturned yesterday.
That was like a poignant moment for me when I was getting a little mopey about climate change and things that I care about, including reproductive rights.
Yeah.
You'd replace the Human Rights Act with the Bill of Rights, or you would replace the Bill of Rights and you would riot until Roe v. Wade is fixed.
I think that hyper focusing on wedge issues such as abortion rights, when it is basically established that 70% of the country has, since the decision on Roe v. Wade, virtually an agreement. Like, there's a supermajority agreement on this issue. The only reason why it's something that people are talking about is because it's a wedge issue that the Republican Party utilizes to mobilize a very active voter base of evangelicals, right? This and like school segregation, pro-segregation for schools, of course, is the two key, is like the two political things that have historically mobilized evangelicals. The only reason why we ever, in my opinion, discuss this as a back and forth and not like
You would replace the Human Rights Act with the American Bill of Rights. Yeah, man, I fucking love the American Bill of Rights.
established
It's fire.
law of the land is because the Democratic Party is feckless and inept and is unable to actually offer a progressive agenda that they run on oftentimes, so that the Republicans can react to that progressive agenda. So Republicans look for different ways of making themselves seem different than the Democratic Party, when on a lot of issues they are perfectly aligned. Oftentimes deregulation, maybe the Democrats are at a slower pace when it comes to deregulation, or play the defensive role against deregulation, but the Republicans are very effective at dismantling federal.
You'd prefer a Norwegian type system. What exactly is a Norwegian type system to you, man? I don't know anything about the Norwegian constitutional system. Do you mean you prefer a more social democratic system?
Agencies, they're very effective at dismantling regulation. They're very effective at sidestepping the legislative branch and hyper-focusing on court packing, which they've done so well, including all the way up to the Supreme Court, and utilizing state legislatures that are gerrymandered. So even if you have a 10-point difference, like in a state of Wisconsin, Republicans will still maintain state supermajorities at the state legislature. They've completely changed, slowly but surely, through many, many years, the entire system. And it's easy for them to do so because their ideology aligns perfectly with capitalism. It's much easier to starve the beast, and it's much easier to take a anti-government approach when that approach also is fundamentally positive for the corporate bottom line. Deregulation is great for corporations. It improves profit margins. So that's why they're very successful. And that's why
Uh,
they have to find different issues that they can hyper focus on so that they can continue mobilizing their base of voters.
When you say the Democratic,
You love it. You love it. You love it when Hasan says that. What did he say? The Democratic Party is pro what exactly there?
That approach also with capitalism. It's
Yeah, the Democratic ideology aligns perfectly with capitalism. Yep.
easier to starve the beast, and it's much easier to take a anti-government approach when that approach also is fundamentally positive for the corporate bottom line. Deregulation is great for corporations; it improves profit margins. So that's why they're very successful, and that's why they have to find different issues that they can hyper focus on so that they can continue mobilizing their base of voters.
when you say the Democratic
I
Party,
wouldn't say the Republican Party, by the way, is super pro-capitalist either. Like their policies aren't necessarily all pro-capitalism.
is feckless.
Neoconservatism isn't really a capitalist ideology anymore.
Do you see that as a question of like the individual people at the head of it, or something more structural?
I mean, structurally, yes, absolutely. I think that.
What was that question? Sorry, I missed it.
So that's why they're very successful.
Am I a fan of Hasan? I am actually kind of a Hasan watcher. I am a Canadian right-leaning libertarian, so I do not agree with Hasan on literally anything, but I would actually hang out with Hasan, I think. Unlike Vosh or Destiny or lots of the other people that I watch talk about politics on the internet. I think Hasan is actually kind of a cool guy.
And that's why
And I'm always interested to hear what he has to say about politics.
they have to find different issues that they can hyper focus on so that they can continue mobilizing their base
Too much of an asshole, though. Although you're going to see that I probably have too much of an asshole problem as well.
of voters.
When you say the Democratic Party is feckless, do you see that as a question of like the individual people at the head of it, or something more structural?
I mean, structurally, yes, absolutely. I think that the people are just
Also, thanks for asking, by the way. And if you want to learn more about my politics, please do consider checking out the YouTube channels that I have linked down below. I am writing a political platform for the Canadian province that I reside in at that top YouTube channel for political essays, and all past streams are located at the middle channel. Yeah, if you want to learn more about my politics or Canadian politics, you can watch me watch part one of my political platform, or you can watch me take an 8 values political test, which is like the political compass test, but way better. And I would love it if you checked out those YouTube channels or follow me on Twitch, man. They really make my day.
The Democratic Party's like leadership is yes, they're cowards, but also I guess they're just operating on their own, on their own interests. They're not actually. I don't think they're motivated by empathy in the way that they present themselves.
Us is definitely structure, not individual weakness that prevents the Democrats from passing more radical policies.
There are a lot of NGOs that might, or there are a lot of, great people working in activist circles and whatnot. But ultimately, I think the Democratic Party itself is not operating out of a place of consciousness or being considerate to marginalized people. I think it's just that's their position.
The reason the Republican Party isn't pro or anti-capitalist is because the Republican Party doesn't think that the anti-capitalist movement isn't dangerous to their goals. I would say that the Republican Party, after the Bush administration, really after the Reagan administration, their conservatism became economically, ideologically detached from economic common sense or anything or any strain of economic thought that could be considered pro-capitalist. Republicans' routine slavish devotion to capitalism has allowed them to obscure what it truly is and pass a bunch of regulations and subsidies and do all this anti-capitalist meddling with their system and start trade wars and do all these things. The Republican Party is not like hyper-capitalist.
That's the song and dance that they play, and
the Republican Party is 100% against laissez-faire capitalism.
this bears itself out in the lack of momentum that they put behind actual legislation. When it comes down to it, Obama had a filibuster-proof Supreme Court. I mean, not Supreme Court. Sorry, Obama had a filibuster-proof Senate, and he didn't codify Roe v. Wade.
Yep.
Throughout the
Nancy Pelosi has been Speaker of the House for 16 fucking years and did not put that bill on the floor once.
50 years, the Democratic Party had, I think, 11 or 12 instances where they had a supermajority where they could have actually codified Roe v. Wade, and that was out of the question.
For the same reason, Republicans didn't want to move Roe v. Wade either, by the way. I'm really disappointed in Hasan for not saying that, considering that he said that Republicans kept Roe v. Wade in the chamber to turn out the evangelical vote, it's true without question that the primary reason Nancy Pelosi never legalized abortion is because it does the exact same thing for her party.
That I think is a that's a
On the particulars of that, when in like the 2009 supermajority or the 2009 when they had the filibuster, they had that wasn't 60 Democrats who would vote to codify Roe v. Wade. I mean, it was a different party back then. Like 12 years ago, it was a way different party on social issues.
I don't disagree with you, but I do think that that is built into the Democratic Party's.
Yeah, 10 years ago, the Democratic Party was like firmly divided on gay marriage.
That's built into the Democratic Party is that there's always going to be a rotating villain. There's going to be a Joe Lieberman, or there's going to be someone else who is a spoiler. If it wasn't for Joe Manchin now or Kristen Sinema now, it would be Maggie Hassan or numerous other senators.
The Republican Party is not dedicated to true capitalism. What I really meant to say there is that the Republican Party is not dedicated to capitalism as an economic system and is more dedicated to capitalism as a system of furthering their political goals. Which totally explains why they still wage wars against non-capitalist countries to fuel their capitalist goals.
Or even
I was too radical to what I said about the Republican Party opposing capitalism was probably too extreme. What I did say earlier is that I agree with is that the Republican Party opposes laissez-faire capitalism and only supports capitalism insofar as it furthers their political goals.
A group of centrist congresspersons could actually build a coalition and dismantle basically dismantle whatever legislative agenda item that the Democratic Party has that Obama ran on. So I do see that. I think the lack of opposition to internal disagreements and not properly whipping votes in favor of your legislative agenda is because the Democrats are comfortable playing the role of like people who are safeguarding our institutions and defending against the accelerationist fascist Republican Party. They just sit back and take the wedge issues as a gift delivered to them. And I think the Roe v. Wade example is perfect for that. Their failure over the course of the past 50 years is coming back in a way where they can use that now to try to mobilize their base in the midterms when Joe Biden is deeply unpopular in the country.
Do you see a tension, when you talk about the two-party system and the huge overlap between the parties? I hear the nuance. Do you worry that what some people hear is like, well, it's all the same, don't vote, it's hopeless, who gives a shit?
I'm sure that regardless of what I have to say, that the plurality of voters or voter eligible population already feels that way.
Yep.
Now, what we have to ask ourselves...
Super fucking important. I'd like to stop here to say this is that I believe, I could be wrong about this, but if you poll the American population totally, over 60% of the population has not voted in every presidential election since 1984, which means that no strong majority of the American population has endorsed a political agenda or candidate in that entire time, and that really disappoints me. Raising the percentage of voter turnout is something that I am strongly in favor of doing. I, a right-wing, capitalist-leading libertarian, am probably in favor of legislation that encourages people and incentivizes them to vote, such as maybe a small fine, like $5, $10, $30, maybe $50 if you don't vote. Maybe something like that. Seriously, fucking vote, dude. It's your duty as a citizen. It's incumbent on you. Oh, I should totally qualify this, though. It's important to vote. In my last election that I was eligible to vote in, I did not vote. It was the mayoral election for my the city where I live in, Calgary, Alberta. Voted the third most livable city in the world recently by The Economist. I didn't vote in the mayoral election because I got my first F on a paper. I let that ruin my day. But it's really important to vote. Apparently, it's not so important when you get your first F on a paper. Really try and get out there and vote, though. Please. Pretty please. Vote, motherfucker.
Is Hasan Piker...
I'm not going to miss another election as long as I live.
A Twitch streamer who gained a little bit of a fraction of prominence over the course of the past couple of years, responsible in any meaningful capacity with the voter base not being interested in voting for either party? Or do we think that it's nearly decades and decades of ineptitude from the Democratic Party and decades of horrible agenda items from the Republican Party that effectively dismantles the state and harms marginalized people, that is pushing the working poor away from voting because they feel as though neither party represents their interests at all. And in a lot of instances, they don't even have the time to vote. That is also by design, as you know.
Voting should be a national holiday, by the way. Everyone should have the ability to vote on election day. Maybe we should have 1, 2, or even 3 election days to make it so that our society can keep running as smoothly as possible and that everyone can still have the ability to vote. Also, voter registration should be instantaneous and free if you do common things like paying your taxes, registering your car, many things you could do to automatically. We could change the system to have many things you do to interact with the government automatically register you to vote.
You know, it's just not even
Vote, motherfucker, please.
that easy to vote in many circumstances. You might be a felon, and like in the state of Florida, you might actually have the entire state pretty much by wider margins agree that you should be able to vote, and then Ron DeSantis can come in, even though he defeated his competition by like a very slim margin. He can effectively say the 1.5 million ex-cons that now are eligible to vote, because that's how democracy works, will still not be able to vote, and will subject them to a poll tax. All of those things happen.
Fuck poll taxes! Super illegal, super unconstitutional, super immoral.
If this isn't an issue, you're from.
Wait, didn't I just... Is what I'm advocating for a poll tax? No, I'm advocating for a fine if you don't vote, which is still kind of shitty, like that will affect marginalized communities. But vote! Like, it's not that hard, especially if I want to make it available for you to vote 3 days every election and automatically register you when you pay your taxes or register your car or do a bunch of other things. Vote, motherfucker, please.
Familiar with it. It's one to read up on. Sorry, just talking to the people. It's a couple years ago, it seemed as this like really hopeful thing, this moment.
Also, $50 is really high. Like, I honestly, if it cost you $20, I feel like you would vote.
Where Florida got together and decided that a felony should not disenfranchise you from democracy. There was a lot of hope around it. It was seen as like a model for going forward. And in the years since, it's just been rolled back repeatedly in the most like sinister of ways. It has more than like a slight resemblance to things that were done in the Deep South in Reconstruction, and then again during the Civil Rights Movement.
Whoa, brother.
Question,
Whoa, brother.
Of course.
Whoa, brother. It's a little bit excessive there. Yeah, I will say, to his credit and on his side of the argument, slavery is still legal for prisoners. It has been legal the whole time. I believe it has never been legal for the United States, for felons from the United States, like from day one. So it's not like that. It's not like prisoners had the ability to vote and then had it taken away from them.
Of course, one.
It's not like Reconstruction or slavery.
Twitch streamer, popular though he is not responsible for the vast majority of people sitting out.
Yeah.
But we only have the lives we have. We only have the window we have. And within the window that you have, how do you walk that line between pointing out similarities between the parties without giving the impression that not voting, that there's not a substantive difference between sitting out an election and voting in one?
Well, I mean, my community does not sit out elections. I literally door knocked for Bernie Sanders, urged people, and used our gigantic Discord server to continue getting people to go out and, engage in get out the vote initiatives. Because ultimately, as much as I hate to admit this, I guess I don't, but I mean, Noam Chomsky is correct that it is still the harm reduction position to still vote for the Democratic Party. But that's not going to stop me from, openly stating that, like, they are not doing a good job. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I wouldn't.
And
argue
I think that if the Democratic Party wanted people to be engaged and engaged and like genuinely enthusiastic about getting out to vote for them, they would actually at least do something. Like they would.
Hey, wait! I think I recognize this guy.
Makes the voter base feel protected. Makes the voter base feel like the Democratic Party's got their back. When they don't do that, and they allow spoilers within their ranks to destroy their legislative agenda, and then they hyper-focus their initiative and efforts on like actually popular, maybe they're in safe blue districts, but still very popular progressive voices within the party. Like Kyrsten Sinema got
it's not the same guy.
In that bipartisan infrastructure bill as a Green senator, right? She's new. Why did she get that? And then she still turned around and used that prominence that the Democratic Party gave her to destroy Joe Biden's agenda. the actual Build Back Better agenda was effectively dismantled by Kirsten Sinema and Joe Manchin, the two people that the Democratic Party foolishly offered this incredible benefit of like putting their name on legislature that passed through Congress.
Yeah, I don't think in Trump's
True, by the way, those two senators are the primary reasons that Joe Biden's bill did not pass.
Republican Party, someone who bucked Trump's main position wouldn't get the top-ranking committee seat on the issue in question. But Joe Manchin is the chairman of the Energy Committee.
Oh yeah, Joe Manchin should be
Chairman of the Energy Committee. I did not know that.
Joe Manchin should be sitting on a chair, but I don't know what kind of chair we're talking about. I'll just say this much.
The interviewer, dude, that's so fucking funny, dude. The interviewer is like, did Hassan just advocate for Joe Manchin to be put in the electric chair? Ooh, I don't know if I can say that in front of my boss. Let's watch that again. Yep, look at his normal face, regular interviewer face.
He's sitting on a chair, but I don't know what kind of chair we're talking about. I'll just say this much. I'm not going to say anything that is going to compromise your position.
Dude, that was fucking hilarious.
But all I'll say is this, okay?
That's so fucking funny.
And said, like, to
Oh,
impress
dude.
some, Warrior Poet Society podcast host that he was invited to cocaine orgies or whatever. Kevin McCarthy pulled him aside and may or may not have beat the shit out of him. Okay, he looked like he got beaten.
You made him cry. Oh man, that photo of Madison Cawthorn crying after Kevin McCarthy is fucking hilarious. It gets me going. Oh man, the tale of Madison Cawthorn is so funny. We're not going to talk about it on stream. I'm sure it'll come up later. But dude, his fate, his life. So short-lived too. I just remember that he got primaried and he lost. Oh, that was fucking hilarious, man. Oh, what a saga. What a saga. I should make a video about the saga of Madison Cawthorn.
Trying so hard that his face was swollen and red when he got out of Kevin McCarthy's room. Then the Republican Party immediately primaried him. Like, immediately.
Erased
Certainly,
him.
there was some Never Trump Republicans in that pack that was attacking Madison Cawthorn, but they very quickly punished him. Okay, even before that, they very quickly reprimanded him and punished him for even saying such a thing. You never see this same level of engagement from the Democratic Party when it comes down to whipping votes. You don't see it when it comes down to dismantling bullshit hurdles that they themselves abide by, like the Senate parliamentarian deciding that the $15 minimum wage cannot be in the budget reconciliation. Except time and time again, the Republican Party has effectively overrode the Senate parliamentarian when it suits their agenda.
True.
Did that back in the day, time and time again. They even went so far as to fire a Senate parliamentarian and put one in a position, a new Senate parliamentarian that complied with the wishes of the Republican Party. Democrats never do this. Now, at a certain point, you have to stop and think, perhaps the Democratic Party isn't doing this because it's not in their best interest to do this. Perhaps the Democratic Party isn't genuinely interested in pushing for a $15 minimum wage. Perhaps they're not interested in genuinely codifying Roe v. Wade because they also see it as a good political tool to mobilize their base.
Hey, I'm glad you got us on to say that earlier. I know I was criticizing him for not saying that about codifying Roe. I'm glad he got it in there. I actually like Hassan.
But I think that demonstrably, while there are more Democrats in this country, and demonstrably, while there are more incredibly progressive opinions, if you pick apart those wedge issues and look at the popular support for them, you would recognize that, these are issues that most Americans agree on. The Democratic Party keeps somehow losing elections. How is that even possible? Maybe it's because of the apathy that people feel when they see time and time again a bunch of millionaires caping for billionaires and corporations in this country and refusing to do even a crumb to actually defend their voter base beyond simply, like Walmart or like Nike or all these other companies, throw up a fist and say Black Lives Matter, and then refuse to push for any kind of initiative that the streets demand, or demanded, rather. A great example of this was when Donald Trump was in power, obviously, when the George Floyd protests were happening, the Democratic Party said their first an immediate reaction to the defund the police movement, which of course not a single Democrat is going to go out to bat and say it, right? Because it was.
Maybe it shouldn't have been the fucking slogan then. Maybe it shouldn't have been the movement then. If no legislator will come out in favor of it.
Unpopular in the media.
Horrifically unpopular. I could not think of a single resolution that would poll worse among the American people than defunding the police. like Green New Deal was the one that was before that. Like Green New Deal was just this free handout to the Republican Party and the right. It's like the Green New Deal did nothing. It was a policy resolution that barely passed. And Fox News and the Republican Party took it and ran with it. If I got a 10-cent dividend anytime someone said Green New Deal on Fox News since 2016, I'd be a fucking millionaire, man. And defund the police, it's the same. It's the same, man. Defund the police has like even less support in the Democratic Party than Green New Deal, and I'm sure it's now said more frequently on Fox News' air. What a waste. Definitely should not have been the primary policy goal, movement, or slogan in the wake of George Floyd's death. It's almost... No, it fucking is. I shouldn't say this, but it fucking is disrespectful to him that defund the police is the primary political movement that came out from his pointless and unnecessary death. And nothing came of the defund the police movement. No reversal on qualified immunity, no establishment of universal body cameras, no increased police accountability, no police training reforms, nothing. Jack shit. Defund the police, though. So I hope you're happy with it if you're in favor of defunding the police. I hope you're happy with what you got. I'm fucking not.
No one really understood it or defended it. What did they do? They immediately found a much more sanitized, policy-driven counter to that. They came to the table with concessions to the opposing party. They wanted to push for 8 can't wait. That was their initiative.
I don't know what that is.
We can't take
Can't
money
remember.
away from police budgets that are inflated and never ending and expanding year over year, and then put it into some social safety nets, or put it into
We can do that, by the way. I don't oppose that.
to hiring actual counselors or whatnot. You know what I mean? People that social workers that would actually deal with like half the things that cops shouldn't be dealing with.
Let's do it, man. This is right there. See, I like Hasan. This is I talked to a bunch of people about defunding the police. You can see that it's kind of an issue that makes me a little bit politically animated. And if you can get these people anywhere on policy, it is this one. And like this is actually a place where we could agree with them. It's like cops are not good at psychological counseling and dealing with people in distress. It's like not a part of their job description to be able to like talk someone down from suicide, or talk to someone who's pointing a gun at somebody else and convince them not to hurt them, or convince someone not to hurt themselves. It's not. It shouldn't be, and it's not in their job description. And so when they suck at doing those things, it shouldn't surprise us. And instead of like going after them and saying that they're bad and terrible, awful people, then they all suck, even though they're not trained to do what we're asking them to do. We should hire people to do the things that the police can't do. And that will result in way less violent interactions with the police if violence with the police can never break out because the police officer never shows up. I rag on the defund the police movement all the time and the Black Lives Matter movement all the time for not achieving any interesting or meaningful policy goals. But replacing police officers with people who are better at conflict resolution than police officers is one policy thing that totally came out of there, that totally came out of the defund the police Black Lives Matter movement that I am interested in implementing and can agree with on balance and resolution. So thank you for saying that, Hasan.
Instead of doing that, they were like, no, we're just going to push for federal legislation or things that already exist, like a choke ban. That was one of the...
Choke ban is a terrible idea. You should not... This is a really good example of how the defund the police and Black Lives Matter movement came from the right places. Like, George Floyd died because a knee was put on his neck, and it was, I believe it's an illegal chokehold that you're not even allowed to do if you're a police officer beforehand. But the best way to restrain someone, unfortunately, without hurting them in the long term, is choking them until they go to sleep. And if you stop police officers and people who need to physically restrain others from doing the least violent thing to restrain them, you are going to incentivize them to do more violent things, like physically harming them in ways that last longer than passing out or sending permanent damage to a windpipe from choking. Choking ban is not a good thing that we should that should be passed. I believe a choking ban was not passed, by the way, but Joe Biden came out in favor of it. He also... It's one of my favorite moments of the Joe Biden presidency. I wish I could get it on camera right now. He said that instead of shooting unarmed black people in the back and shooting unarmed black people and just shooting people, the police should just learn to shoot them in the leg instead of shooting them center of mass, which is just shows how ignorant and unknowledgeable Joe Biden is about policing and guns.
Things in 8 can't wait. When Democrats actually came to a position of power, what did they do? They ran on police. They basically ran on funding the police more, but also reforming the
Joe Biden did run on funding the police.
police, which is something that they've been saying for many, many years. And then immediately, 8 Can't Wait didn't even pass. They didn't have the votes for it. They didn't whip hard enough for those votes. Like I said, I mean, they just don't. Like,
Excuse me,
the
folks.
Republican Party would never let go of real, genuine momentum happening in their base.
It's
They
true.
do it for their 30% evangelical support. That's why Roe v. Wade is done. And
I've said it before, and I will say it again on stream. I heard it first from Fareed Zakaria, but I believe it was one of the Kennedys that said it. Democrats fall in love, and Republicans fall in line. If Democrats want to win elections, they always gotta have a story and a moment, and everything's gotta come together for them. And Obama is the change candidate, and Joe Biden is the candidate to restore the soul of America and beat Donald Trump. And yeah, the Republican Party will always show up the same every time on whatever issue. They will always show up in line instead of in love. It's one of the most curious things about American politics, and that is one of my all-time favorite quotes, and one of the most accurate.
and they'll do whatever it takes to push for legislation that is in their agenda, no matter how cruel and unjustifiable said legislative agenda item is, because they're ride or die. They're ride or die for their base.
We were talking about this earlier. Do you I mean, you got takes, you got ideas, you clearly have convictions.
You got
Thinking
takes.
about running? What would it take to get you to run?
I would never run.
Never ever?
No shot. Because, well, first of all, I am an imperfect vessel. I can urge other people to do so, but I myself, I would be a terrible candidate. I'm hot-headed. I speak out on my convictions too much, and also my most famous moments are saying things like America deserved 9/11 and numerous other things that would immediately there's so much to use against me in opposition research by literally taking clips out of context.
Dude, Donald Trump is the president of the United States. This is such a stupid argument from Hasan. Every single political creator that has run for office has lost terribly. Cenk Uygur is, I believe, the one to get the closest. He ran in a Democratic primary and got beat. Hasan would likely be the exception. I totally think that you cross a point of critical mass that Hasan has crossed. The issue is that it's really difficult to translate a wide political following into concentrated political votes. But Hasan can raise so much money off of his community, and his community is so wide that it would totally have the depth to play a role in an election. I think that Hasan could probably win if he ran. Also, he's running in California, which is highly advantageous to his positions in Congress. He could be like the AOC in California.
Destroy me. I'm not popular enough to overcome that. Nor would I ever be able to get a base of support to give enough money.
I'm not sure if he would be an effective legislator or an effective communicator. I also don't think that he is very interested in managing all the people required to run a political office. And yeah, it's as simple as that. Also, if Hasan ran for Congress, he wouldn't even be in Congress very long.
Money and enough good-natured coverage in the media to overcome that, because I would be effectively primarying probably like a blue dog Democrat or something, and the Democratic Party would destroy me. The establishment Democrats would come after me and
Because
push
you brought
my
it up.
skull in.
Because you brought it up. Do you regret saying that about 9/11?
No.
Do you want to explain for an audience that is meeting you for the first time?
Yeah.
Do you want to explain?
Oh, good. We'll get some real stream alert here. I actually should provide some context to that America deserved 9/11 thing. That is definitely Hasan's most recognized statement. But I will let the man himself speak in his defense.
There's a nuance. What are those?
I mean,
nuances?
I feel incredibly vindicated for obvious reasons, considering that in the 20th anniversary of 9/11, every single thing that I was talking about when I said what I said was made into documentaries, basically, or people were working on those documentaries for years, I guess. But all those documentaries that came out after 9/11 was like, yeah, we kind of did do this to ourselves, which is precisely what my point was. It's the backlash, or the blowback, rather, if you want to use the real term for it,
He's not doing a really good job here of defending his own statement. I will let him finish, and then I will speak up.
In the affairs of the Middle East for half a century, and it's true. Like, I
But
mean, this is not even something that people discuss in academia. What's up?
I mean, you understand how that, like, there were kids in those buildings. Like, surely they didn't deserve it.
No, of course not. But that was never my position.
That's
I
not
don't
it.
believe
Yeah,
the
exactly.
Americans that died on 9/11
This is what is
deserved to die.
exactly what I was about to say.
What I was simply talking about is American foreign policy.
Yeah.
And also, lack of intra-agency communication, the fact that, assets that we knew of and were monitoring were, literally planning this under the noses of the CIA and FBI. All of that paired up with, half a century of meddling and literally propping up the same people that ended up striking the towers is it's our fault. It's the American government's fault.
Yeah, I think when you
I wouldn't necessarily put it that way if I was Hassan defending that statement. Hassan obviously doesn't believe that Americans deserve to die in 9/11, but the American foreign policy of the 20th century, and especially the American foreign policy in the Middle East, if you look at it on paper from 1980 to 1999, and you'll say what will happen after this, it very logically runs out that a mass terrorist attack in the United States would be the result of that. Americans obviously didn't deserve to die in 9/11, and yeah, Hassan definitely shouldn't have said that. Like, if you see the clip, that is not what he was saying in that clip, but that is definitely what he means now. And if you asked him when he was like, calmed down before he made that clip, or after what his positions were on 9/11, he would not say that America deserved 9/11. He would say that American foreign policy led to 9/11, which is true.
when you frame it that way, there's a discussion to be had, and there's like a compelling reasons. Do you worry about getting just captured in sound bites?
I mean, I think it's going to happen.
90 years of foreign policy, not just 20 years. 90 years of American Middle Eastern foreign policy, starting with the FDR administration's choice to align themselves to the House of Saud in 1930. Starting there, the United States foreign policy clearly started on a track of not obviously recognizing and allying with Saudi Arabia, but implanting the United States there 90 years earlier, and also implanting us so completely continually. Like, the United States presence in the Middle East never diminished after the recognition and alliance with Saudi Arabia. It's like Israel gets recognized in 1948, and America's all in on Israel and all in on maintaining a Saudi alliance. Then it's all in as well on maintaining an Iranian alliance. And at that point, it's pulling so many levers and pushing so many buttons that they are pissing lots of people off and causing so much injustice that it shouldn't be a fucking surprise that people get radicalized in that 90-year period and want to take revenge. American foreign policy led to that. It should have been different, and those Americans would be alive today if American foreign policy had been different.
Happen no matter what. People that don't want to see what I am actually saying, or people that don't want to be charitable to what I have to say, are not going to be charitable. They're going to use everything they can to disparage me, and they do. But ultimately, I'm live for 10 hours a day. It's pretty hard to, if you do care, if you do legitimately want to hear what I have to say, it's not that hard. You can reach me, and I will talk about it endlessly, about things I believe in endlessly.
All right. I don't want Ian to miss his train, and we're creeping up on time. But last few questions. Do you have a dream guest, someone you'd love to have on who you haven't had yet?
Yeah, Dua Lipa as my dream guest.
How's that going?
It's not going well. I keep
Well,
DMing her. I'm like, Dua, please come on my stream. I love you, and she just does not respond. She's ghosting.
We'll
me.
hit her. We have some connections.
No, I mean, all joking aside, no, I do.
Bernie, he already had AOC. I'd want Bernie if I was his son, or I want AOC actually on stream.
I love that she puts herself out there when it comes to speaking out about political positions that she
Who?
holds. That
Is it Dua?
certainly is not too fond of, and I really respect that. I love when rich people basically put their wealth on the line, or their famous people put their charitability, I guess, on the line to speak out for marginalized people that otherwise would never be heard.
And in 10 years, if,
Excuse me,
if
folks.
your life is going well, what do you see yourself doing?
I mean, I love doing this. I love streaming. So people always are like, "Oh, what else is next? What's next for you? What do you want to do? Do you want to get, do you want to get like a mainstream media contract or something?" Like, I've had opportunities to move over to mainstream media.
Hasan would do terrible on mainstream media.
But I don't like that. I like this. So 10 years down the line, what do I see myself doing? Probably this, hopefully at a much, much larger scale. You know, I would like to be able to do what I'm doing right now to 1 million people at the same time, rather than the 30,000 or 200,000 when it's the election, when it's election coverage time.
Well, if that's still going on, hopefully 10 years from now we can have you back.
All right, don't wait
No.
for 10 years. You know, you can have me on before then.
Yeah, I really appreciate all the time you
This was an awesome interview.
take and the thought you put into these answers. Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for asking me to come on. This was great.
I appreciate you.
All right,
Cool.
bye guys.
All right, bye.
Okay.
All right, this was an awesome interview. We will go back to the face cam. I will take off the headset. Alrighty, yeah. So that was a cool 90 minutes. It'll be 5 p.m. in 10 minutes, and like I said at the beginning of the stream, my girlfriend is working double today, and she's only spending an hour here, and so I can spend this time with her. So we will be popping off between 5 and 6 and coming back just after to probably play some games. Not sure which games yet. A little bit of a surprise, perhaps. Anyway, I had so much fun making this. I hope you had fun watching this. This wasn't necessarily the streamer lore that I was looking for, although I think we learned a lot about Hasan, about how Hasan thinks about politics, and I'm more interested in his political philosophy, but we definitely learned some important things about him in that stream. Yeah, I look forward to seeing you again. We will be spending some more time with Hasan Piker and learning his political philosophy. Yeah, toodaloo.